With the news at this time, I am Tiana Jordan. A very good morning to you. The news comes to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories. First, the lead stories. The High Court has ruled that former chairman of the Police Service Commission, Paul Slow, can challenge the decision to suspend him, although the life of that commission has expired. In regional news, foreigners in Antigua and Barbuda no longer have to apply for new work permits if they change employers. And for the international news, we'll bring to you the latest bulletin coming from the BBC World Service. The details of these and other stories will be coming up in just a moment.
A COVID-19 PCR test is now mandatory for many routine activities, including travel and return to work purposes. At Eureka, our trained and experienced staff will ensure confidentiality while your test is conducted in a professional and timely manner with results in just 48 hours. So the next time you require an efficient and hassle-free PCR COVID-19 test, call 624-8378, 608-8378, or 623-7233 to schedule your appointment. You can also ask about our house call testing service.
And now the news in detail. The High Court yesterday ruled that although the 3-year term of the Police Service Commission, PSC, has expired, its now former chairman, Paul Slow, can still challenge the suspension of himself and other then commissioners. Justice Gino Prasad noted that neither the Attorney General nor Mr. Slow's lawyers had found any case to support their positions on what ought to happen when a constitutional commission expires, leaving behind a pending case. Attorney General Anil Nandlal had argued that with the expiration of the PSC in August, the case against the suspension had automatically ended. The judge said Mr. Slow had not been properly advised, and so the matter should have been filed in his individual capacity. Justice Prasad gave the parties timelines for the submission of arguments after a date for an oral hearing would be set in the main case in which they are challenging their suspension. President Ali had suspended the commission when it had become obvious that the body would have announced the promotion of more than 100 police officers. The government said that it does not recognize those promotions, and so they have not been published in the official gazette. The Slowed Commission had refused to promote a number of officers on the grounds that they had pending disciplinary matters. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says talks are continuing with the United States-based Mount Sinai Health System to boost care and treatment in Guyana. He says this visit is a follow-up to a previous one. The health minister listed several non-communicable diseases that will be targeted with assistance from Mount Sinai Health System.
Well, this is a partnership that the government of Guyana is developing with Mount Sinai. We've had a previous visit from a very high-level team. So this particular team that is here is looking into various areas of healthcare in Guyana. We are looking at strengthening primary health care, for example, improving care for diabetic patients, looking at the possibility of improving oncology, cardiovascular services, among the areas that we are currently discussing.
Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony. The Ministry of Health wants to reduce kidney failure by focusing on public awareness and education. Health Ministerial Advisor Dr. Barry Ramsaran also says there should be outreaches to schools in order to improve kidney health and reduce the need for dialysis.
Let's save the kidneys before they have to come to dialysis. Therefore, that less and less people having dialysis, it means we can probably be giving them a better service, right? So I wanted to push that point in, prevention, right, and give you a challenge. A lot of young people here, the proprietors of both firms are fairly young. Make a reach out. Let's have wellness warriors in the schools, so that when they go back home, they will be able to influence the older people, right?
Biomed Energy and Dialysis Inc. and Supreme Distributors on Wednesday signed a memorandum of understanding to provide free dialysis. Managing Director of Supreme Distributors, Mohammed Faisal, plans to eventually assist other dialysis clinics.
We just did not look at having this as a one-off venture for the Biomed Energy Clinic, but also looking at an annual something where we can expand and to help other clinics across the country. As we know, dialysis is very, very expensive. I was told that some patients have to do dialysis 3 times a week. And when we look at some cost, then it's over $2 million per patient yearly.
Mr. Faisal also hopes that other businesses, non-governmental organizations, and other entities will see the need to support Biomed Energy and dialysis in extending the lives of persons whose kidneys have failed. March 10th is World Kidney Day. And now in regional news. Government workers in Suriname are getting a wage and a salary increase of between 17 and 20%. Star News, however, reports that the security services are not happy with the pay hike. A number of unions representing other government workers are also not happy with the increase in wages and salaries. The government says that it is also paying a 1,000 Suriname dollar purchasing power boots and 800 Suriname dollar support allowance. The income tax-free limit has been increased so that Surinamis who are earning less than 4,000 Suriname dollars will not be paying income tax. The tax-free limits of the other tax brackets have also been adjusted. The Suriname government says that more than 20,000 pensioners will get a boost in purchasing power. Barbados owners and operators of taxis and public service vehicles are appealing to the government there to assist them to grapple with increasing fuel prices. The war between Russia and Ukraine has seen a drastic cut in oil and gas supplies as a part of a raft of sanctions against the Vladimir Putin administration. Since then, crude oil has increased to more than $100 per barrel. In Barbados, the transportation operators are suggesting that the government remove the annual registration fee for them, which was set at 50% of their existing road tax. In 2018, the government abolished the road tax for private and commercial vehicles and replaced it with a fuel tax. However, owners of commercial vehicles were made to pay an annual registration fee. Antigua and Barbuda's opposition United Progressive Party, UPP, is claiming victory for its proposed transferable work permit policy. As the Twin Island nation heads into a general election sometime this year, the UPP and the governing Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party have been trying to win the hearts of foreigners who are living there. The UPP says it had first proposed that work permits be transferred with specific industries such as tourism and security. Prime Minister Gaston Brown at the weekend said that the government would be quashing the need for workers to apply for new work permits if they change jobs and places of employment. Mr. Brown has agreed that it would be too costly for workers to do so. In its 2018 manifesto, the UPP promised the immigrant community that it would stop the current practice, which requires a fresh permit every time a worker changes employers. Since the launch of its current campaign, the party put that promise back on the table. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Keith Rowley has announced that the government would order a commission of inquiry into the drowning of 4 divers. The Prime Minister has announced that a commission of inquiry will be formed to investigate the incident at Paria Limited in which 4 divers died. Dr. Rowley said the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries has been instructed to abandon the formation of a 5-member committee after the nominee from the Energy Chamber, Eugene Teer, removed himself from the process. He did so after objections were raised by the United National Congress and opposition leader Kamla Prasad Bisesar. They had accused Teer of having too close ties with the government and would not be independent. Rowley said he had come to the conclusion that the situation had been politicized to such a high degree that the public would not accept the recommendations of that committee. He said the government will be approaching foreign experts, such as those used by Shell and the BP, to form a 3-man commission. He said it would cost millions of dollars. It seemed to be the only way the opposition might accept there would not be a cover-up, as people could be called and cross-examined. The Prime Minister's announcement represented a sharp turnaround from the position taken by the government only a few hours earlier on the same matter. And now for the international news. Here's the latest bulletin coming from the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The foreign ministers of Ukraine and Russia have held face-to-face talks in Turkey, the highest level of contact between the two sides since President Putin launched his invasion. Dmytro Kuleba and Sergei Lavrov met in the city of Antalya. Moscow has said it will stop fighting only if Ukraine gives up Crimea, the Donbass and joining the EU and NATO. Ukraine's Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, Emine Japarova, told the BBC what 3 areas Ukraine focused on during the talks.
First is the ceasefire. Russia has stopped its barbaric airstrikes and shellings and bombings of Ukrainian cities and civilians. Second is the occupation and territorial integrity. The war that we have is a direct consequence of the inability to respond to the aggression in 2014. So if we are not ready to stop the war today, the aggression will be bigger, and this is something that Europe should understand. And the third is the humanitarian disaster.
Some news just in. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba says his country is ready to continue engagement with Russia following talks with his Russian counterpart in Turkey. He said they'd agreed to continue efforts to seek a solution to the humanitarian crisis on the ground. The deputy mayor of the besieged city of Mariupol in southern Ukraine has told the BBC 3 people were killed when Russia bombed a maternity hospital on Wednesday. Sergei Orlov said one of those killed was a child. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of committing a war crime. At least 17 people were injured. Crystal Wells from the International Committee of the Red Cross described the situation in Mariupol.
This is a city where people are going without the very basics of survival. No food, no water, no heat. The temperatures are freezing, no electricity. And they desperately need humanitarian assistance, and they also need safe passage out of this city if they want to leave. It's just incredibly dire.
Britain's Defence Ministry says the Russian military has confirmed that it has been using thermobaric rockets, often called vacuum bombs, in Ukraine. Gordon Carrera reports.
The Ministry of Defence claimed Russia had confirmed that it had used the TOS-1 Alpha weapon system in Ukraine, referring its thought to reports from a battle last Friday. The system can fire thermobaric rockets, which suck in surrounding oxygen to create a high-temperature explosion. The use of such weapons is not in itself illegal, but under the law of armed conflict, they're not supposed to be used in a way that can endanger civilians or cause unnecessary suffering. The claim came amid warnings from Western officials that Moscow might be considering using chemical weapons.
Gordon Carrera reporting. World News from the BBC. Britain has imposed sanctions on the billionaire owner of Chelsea Football Club, Roman Abramovich, over the invasion of Ukraine. He's on a new list of 7 Russian businessmen the government says has close links to President Putin. They'll face asset freezes and travel bans. The measures put a halt to Mr Abramovich's plan to sell Chelsea of the English Premier League. But the British government said the team would still be able to play matches under a special licence. In other world news, India's governing BJP looks set to retain control in the country's most populous state, Uttar Pradesh, as votes are counted in state assembly elections. The BJP's expected win in the northern state comes in spite of the state and federal government's much criticised handling of the coronavirus pandemic, high unemployment and abandoned farm reforms. The BJP is also ahead in 3 smaller states, Manipur, Goa and Uttarakhand. An anti-corruption party that governs the National Capital Territory of Delhi, the AAP, is headed for a landslide victory in Punjab. Tens of thousands of ancient manuscripts from the city of Timbuktu are being made available online as part of a huge project to preserve and showcase Mali's rich cultural history. They form part of a virtual gallery launched by Google with the help of local and international partners. Our West Africa correspondent is Nomsa Maseko.
The historically important manuscripts were saved from ruin when extremist groups tried to destroy them in 2012, and time was running out to save them. After they were smuggled out to safety, Google Arts and Culture started working with community leaders and various local and international organizations to preserve and digitize the priceless history of a city on the edge of the Sahara Desert. Up to 40,000 pages of endangered manuscripts will now be available online.
That's the latest world news from the BBC.
The news was brought to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratories.
Don't let the fear of contracting the coronavirus disease deter you from seeking the medical care you need. At Eureka Labs, we ensure the safety of our clients and staff with our rigid sanitization routine. This involves the use of ultraviolet lights to effectively rid the air and all surfaces of viruses and bacteria that may be present throughout the lab daily. The light works to rapidly inactivate microorganisms through a physical process that is invisible to human eye. So the next time you need a checkup, don't hesitate to give us a call on 225-7574 to schedule your appointment.
And to end the news, here is a recap of the leads. The High Court has ruled that former chairman of the Police Service Commission, Paul Slow, can challenge the decision to suspend him, although the life of that commission has expired. And regionally, foreigners in Antigua and Barbuda no longer have to apply for new work permits if they change employers. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.